December should be wonderful because even though it's cloudy tonight, we do have some of the brightest stars in the year coming up, and we have two of our favorite planets. So first, if there's any interesting space news that you probably have been running across, or that I think it might be interesting, I start with that, and then we do the planets and the constellations and where to find the planets and meteor showers. So for space, actually, a lot of you have heard about the non, what would you say? Yeah, non ET powered 3-1 Atlas asteroid that is zooming throughout our solar system. What makes it interesting is most comets and asteroids that come and help form our meteor showers are from the outer reaches of the solar system. These aren't. This is the third, hence number 3, I for interstellar, and then ATLAS stands for Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Alert System, which we do have, and doing a very fine job. And this is the third that we know that we've discovered coming from the outer limits, as it were. The thing is, it is actually going to make a very close flyby this month. It actually came from the Sagittarius direction in our sky, and that, which is something you can see during the evening in the summer, but that constellation happens to be, when you're looking towards that area, it is the center of our Milky Way. You're kind of, even though you're in the Milky Way, you're looking through it when you look at constellations like Sagittarius. Okay, now it's gone past her, it's coming back past her. Now it's got a closest approach to Earth on the 19th. It is going to be 170 million miles away from us. Don't worry, that's plenty of mileage. That's about twice as far as we are from the sun. The sun's about 93 million miles from us. So that is very cool. And as you probably can guess, we already have a lot of spacecraft and above atmosphere telescopes to view things like this. So we're getting a lot of information. This is kind of cool, as this little GIF. It was taken by a Tianwen-1, a Mars orbiter, I believe it's from China, in early October 2025. So anyway, it's still traveling, but it will pass through Jupiter in March 2026 as it heads back out into wherever it came from. Here's a nice graphic showing it towards the end of this year. It goes up to the 21st. But basically, before local sunrise, if you go out and look for Leo, which is a fairly bright constellation, you can make out the backward question mark up here. And so that's where you would.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah. Okay. You're calling the other house phone.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Sounds like Steve.
Have you heard anything?
You do have to mute yourself.
I said earlier this
Those of us who are watching online.
that she was on her way to the hospital.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Steve Lowe, I think you need to.
No news means nothing critical.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
And she's telling them.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
One of our answers is
let me know, please.
I will.
And which hospital is it? Is it the one in Freehold?
I think
it's for Steve.
Right?
Okay, that's where he was when she went away, right?
I think
Steve
so.
Lowe.
Yeah.
Steve Lowe.
Yeah. All right. Okay, thanks.
All right, I'll be in touch.
Thanks, Dennis. All right.
Okay, Steve. Bye.
Bye.
Phone call is over.
I think that was Steve Lowe. Steve, can you mute yourself?
Well, giving you plenty of opportunity to enjoy this. My youngest, who is 37 and has always been a dinosaur freak, I do this because she absolutely loves the T-Rex and any chances. I like this in particular because I never saw anything that really spelled out how difficult it would be for a T-Rex to use binoculars.
Oops, I just,
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Yep.
All right, then she takes it very seriously. The other thing was, it was just coming up that NASA's OSIRIS-REx, which was a mission to find out, to reach the asteroid Bennu and try to see, what, as a lot of these missions do, what asteroids are actually made up of. They actually found, in particular, the amino acid tryptophan in the extraterrestrial material. It's the first time that they found it. The heading was something like the asteroid Bennu has feel-good compounds, because as a lot of you know, we just finished Thanksgiving, and the whole myth about there's a lot of tryptophan in turkey meat, and that's why we are so happy after we have our big dinner. Anyway, but the molecule linked to happiness. Okay. So that's why we do these things. Two special little bits. Again, I just ran across this, and it was just too interesting not to talk about. There is something called excuse me. It's something called the mantis shrimp. Very small. It's not really a shrimp, but it happens to have, just earlier this year, they were realizing that there are some features that creatures have that we could actually use, and that they could just kind of make something similar in a lab. They could make space flight much more safe. So they're actually trying to make lightweight, of course, shields for spacecraft to protect them from tiny meteoroids. As a matter of fact, we had I think it was not sure if it was a Chinese group of astronauts who were trying to leave their space station, and couldn't leave because their craft, shortly after they were taking off, got hit. And so now, where there were supposed to be 6 people, I think, or maybe 3, there's now 9 people, all crowded. So while they wait for repairs. But anyway, as you can see, instead of pinchers, it really looks like an elongated, droopy set of boxing gloves, which is amazing. Apparently, really packs a punch. They can really take care of themselves. As a matter of fact, it's got the force of a bull. Just amazing, these tiny creatures. And for obvious reasons, I think it's illegal to own one, because if you put it in a fish tank, it's gonna get out. So and here it is in the flesh. I mean, it's just amazing, these creatures. But anyway, that was just kind of a lighthearted little bit about how our science dollars work. The other thing was the other creature that I came upon in Facebook, or a meme. If anyone's going to get someone a gnome for Christmas, this is usually what you say about bunnies and getting birds and little puppies and little kitty cats, that it's a responsibility. It's a little tongue in cheek there, but so much for the levity. Let's talk about serious stuff that's going to happen. December 21st, although today is packing a winter punch, that is the beginning of winter solstice. And as you can see, as you probably know, we rotate on our axis, and we're leaning in the winter away from the sun. And that the actual sun's rays and what they hit directly and what they don't hit directly is what brings the cold. We're actually closer to the sun in our non-circular orbit. It's more like an ellipse. We're actually closer to the sun in the winter than in the summer, which is kind of interesting. And July 4th, it really goes December 4th, July 4th. We are actually farther away from the sun on July 4th. So it's again, it's the rotation and the slant that gives us that wonderful weather. I find it very invigorating, but I like smell, but nobody else does. There you have it. Birthdays, we like to make mention of famous scientists. There's Tycho Brahe, good old 1546. Isaac Newton, who everyone is familiar with, and Johannes Kepler with his laws of motion. You can never talk about Isaac Newton looking there without, mentioning our current astrophysicist, Dr. Brian May, who's the lead guitarist for Queen. And, he spent some time working towards his PhD and came back and there you have it. It's the hair. Now, for the planets, we start in the morning, and really in the morning sky, the only thing we've got, because the ones we were seeing in the morning and waiting patiently for them to come to the evening sky, like Saturn and Jupiter, they are in the evening sky. Now what's pretty much left is Mercury, and I mention it because it is going to have the best views for the year, Mercury. It's a little hard to find, and you need binoculars. I have never found it myself, and it would help if you had a telescope. But it's very low in the sky. But it's actually going to get a little, the 7th, it's going to be as high as it can be, and then it's going to start going down. And here's a nice, very nice graphic showing. It's in here. It's in the constellation Scorpius, and I think Antares, which is the main star of Scorpius, and actually, an enormously bright and gorgeous star. That's a little below the horizon or below the trees. You may be able to see it at some point. But it's also nice to know when there is another heavenly body nearby, which kind of guides you to where it's going to be. There's a lovely crescent moon on December 17th, full of earthshine, as you can see it there. So that'd be a good time to check. And you can also check online. There are a lot of websites. I'll show you my acknowledgement page. Earth Sky is very good. Sky and Tell, astronomy.com, even NASA. A lot of people have WhatsApp features. So, if you're interested in remembering some of this, either go on YouTube and listen to this again, or avail yourself of the wonderful Googling that's home for you. Venus, unfortunately, we love it because it's just so bright. That and Jupiter, there's nothing as bright as those two. And when they're up, you never have to tell anybody where to look. It's just, the brightest thing in the sky. Like, what the heck is that? That's coming back as an evening planet. It's gonna be wild. And Venus alternates, as you may know, as an evening or a morning planet. Mars, it's going to be back in the pre-dawn sky in February. The opposition is until 2027, which is really when the planet spends the evening rising and is visible all night. So it's going to be a while till we can enjoy it in the evening. So, like I said, if you want to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, it's a very peaceful, beautiful thing to do to see, the dark sky and planets and stars that just are just extra impressive. Now for the evening, here's just a brief overview. Saturn comes up first. It's visible until after midnight. So these months are the ones to really grab Saturn if you can. And it's, everybody's almost favorite with beautiful rings. And then Jupiter will rise soon after sunset. We will show you where to find it in the sky. Just wanting to mention a few things about these planets. This is one of our members who is very good with astrophotography. Cliff Ashcraft has been doing this for decades, and he has a family, a home observatory in central Jersey in the big backyard, and he did a very nice Saturn. And as you can see, the rings, this is from 2024, but since the 2024, 2025, the rings are even a little closer to edge on. And one of the things I like is that since the telescope inverts an image, with binoculars you see things as they are, but telescopes, you get the image upside down. So, in terms of finding out features of a planet, it's not always, it makes it a little complicated. And what I like about what Cliff does is that he tells you that south is up, and then I've actually flipped it to show you what it really would look like if you were out there gazing. And here's something from November when it actually was at its thinnest. It was last month, but I thought it would be helpful to view that. You can see some of the moons in our telescopes. It's really interesting. It's true as well about Jupiter, that the moons, sometimes you will catch a photo of the actual moon and the shadow it casts on the actual globe of Saturn. And the globe of Saturn itself is very impressive. And this is the time when, it's not about the ring so much as how beautiful the actual globe behind it is. This is a beautiful photo of the North Pole of Saturn. This was the Cassini spacecraft, 2013. It has since done its job, and it actually just pretty much sunk into the planet to its depth a few years ago, and taking pictures all the time. I mean, if you really want a wonderful story, look up Cassini. And there was a woman, Carolyn Porco, who was the chief image supervisor. We saw her a few years ago at Princeton. It was amazing. But that's when I discovered how really wonderful looking the actual planet is. There's that hexagon, which looks like it was painted on. It's a long standing storm, and and I do like to do a little more on the two planets that we have, for the evening. So that's why I spend a little time on Saturn and Jupiter. Here's Jupiter. By the way, Saturn, as you notice, we keep. Let me see. Did I really thought I had put how many moons. I think Saturn is up to 247. 49.
249.
It's like last year, the numbers just, and every time I talk, I always check with NASA, like, oh, don't use a slide from a few months ago because you never know. And that's what's fascinating about astronomy. You're never done. It's like dinosaurs. My daughter asked me, could you get me a fossil piece for Christmas? I did actually find what they call junk bones in Utah or something. Well, they're very careful about calling something a junk bone because they're discovering new species all the time. So anyway, and so the universe itself is a very busy place. Okay, this is one of our members, Tony Sharpman, who did a beautiful Jupiter, and there's one of the moons there, and just showing you where Jupiter is rising in early December. It's near. This shows the moon. Earth sky does some nice graphics. It's actually in the constellation where the only stars we can see of the Gemini constellation are like the heads of the twins. They're like stick figures going this way. And I know the people at home can't see my cursor, but Castor, the head is on the left, the body is extending to the right. Same with Pallas. But Jupiter is so bright that you really don't have to know which constellation it's in. But just to let you know, Uranus is, the other thing is, again, Google when the moons of Jupiter, the Galilean moons, which are the four largest, and they are so cold because Galileo actually, discovered them in a telescope, and that, of course, since the moons were orbiting another planet, it certainly changed our view of heavenly bodies and who's circling around who, and they're wonderful because, like I showed you before, the shadow of the moon on the planet Saturn. Same thing with Jupiter, and there are ideal times during the month when a lot of online scientific sites will let you know what to look for, because the four moons, and we're talking about Jupiter here with its 95, they really take a number of hours to maybe a day and a half, the four of them to completely go around the planet. So you can really see this motion, and with binoculars, it's just adorable, where you can actually, with very good set of binoculars, you can see tiny dots, and sometimes you'll see three on one side and one on the other, or two and two. So again, in terms of the solar system, the universe moving and changing a lot. A few years ago, these bands that you see, and you can see the bands. It's a strong suggestion and more of the bands and color in our telescopes. One of the bands disappeared entirely a few years ago and then came back. So it's like, where it go? Is there a storm on top of it? A lot of these bands are storms in Jupiter, for example. But it just made the hobby just much more accessible and much more exciting. There you go. Uranus is actually up there. It is between where, I'm going to show you where Saturn is, and Uranus is sort of between it and Jupiter. You can see it in the in binoculars. I have never found it in binoculars. I've seen it in the telescopes here, and it is the tiniest dot. But the fact that you know that you're seeing a planet makes it very interesting. And as you can see, it was discovered and carefully named by somebody, but it was discovered by William Herschel was also a musician, by the way, was the first planet discovered using a telescope. Everyone knew a lot of the other ones without that. It's also looks like it's on its side, and it has rings, as all the outer planets do have rings, but it's mostly dust as opposed to Saturn, which is dust and ice. And of course, there's enough ice that it's very reflective, so Saturn is known for the rings. But Uranus and even Jupiter have them. It got knocked on its side at some point in its formation, so that's why it looks like that. But even if you're looking at the telescope, I just like to put this in the middle of a big slide because it was just a tiny dot, but the color was there. A lot of times in telescopes, the color isn't there. You don't see a red Mars in a telescope. You sort of see a white disk. This is really, it was a treat. I had been here for over 10 years before I saw it. It just, knocked me for a loop. Now, the winter constellations are also where our planets are. This gives you the best guess about how you would know with a flat screen. And we also in the back have plenty of these where you could take. They are it's the evening sky map, and it does tell you how to position it, because again, it's really, you're looking at a dome over our heads, but you're looking at a piece of paper. That's east on our map, but of course east standing here is over there, and that's south, west, and north. But you'll get it. What I did, and I really started maybe 20 years ago, just thinking, well, if I can find one constellation on a map, it would probably been Orion or something that's very big and very popular, and then try to find it every night, and then every season has its set of constellations because they're rising in the east, going over, setting in the west, and there's another set of constellations for the next season, etc. But then I would try to find the one next to it, So starting very easy, and I'm an English major, so taking anybody can. But what is cool about this is you see that shaded version. That's actually the Milky Way that people actually see in their backyards. People who weren't us, which is amazing. But it's like, oh, so that's what the little shaded netty part of the map is. The first time I saw it, either in Vermont or Wyoming. You've got the planets. You've also got stars. In the winter, there are more. It seems that there are more bright stars. I guess it's freezing, so of course you have to suffer for your art. So that's how that works. But you also have, we can see the big dots in New Jersey. People wonder why we pursue astronomy, and it's like, you really can. You can see a lot. As a matter of fact, I found it easier to learn the sky with only a few dots up there. First time I think I was in northern Vermont. I mean, it was gorgeous, but could I have learned the sky and patterns? I'm just not sure. And one of our members from Wyoming, he's in New Mexico now, he's online with us tonight. First time I saw that, it was so overwhelming, but it would be very confusing to try to learn. So let's hear it from New Jersey. You also have different colors. You see stars, sometimes it takes developing, and the camera eye, for example, can see things like the aurora borealis better. I remember when I had a very lucky trip in Norway where there was a meteorologist and one of my friends here actually was there with us. A meteorologist and an American and an Irish astronomer, and they went every day with a cloudy, rainy northern Norway and found holes in the clouds. And someone said, they're pretty good. You'll at least get one night. You hear about people who go to Iceland and they don't see anything. Not only did we have one night, we saw every night, and once we were on our way back and they started again. So it was amazing, but they were light to me. And, I'm older, so I could have been part of it. But I'm looking at my friend next to me in her camera, they're green. So there is something to know, by the way. It was very hard for me to learn that. It was like finding this, we don't have books here, do we? I'm just realizing it was like, I didn't tell you. And everyone's got a different experience with that. So some people see colors just fine. But anyway, what's interesting about the color of stars, sometimes you do have to develop astro photographs like some you're seeing here, where it because of the chemical composition, there is color, but we may not be able to actually, see it. In our telescopes, Jupiter does have an orange cast to it, and like I said, the Uranus also has a green cast to it. Here with the stars, it's interesting that in terms of their age, you would think that what we call the red stars, like we call Mars the red planet, it's not red, it's like flesh color. Okay? Well, stars that have that, you would think they were the hot ones, and on the other side of the spectrum, the blue-white ones, you would think they were ice cold, but it's the other way around. The ones that are red have actually started to warm and hot, get warmer and cooler than their original what they started out to be. And the blue ones are actually cooler. Okay, so it just, makes it interesting. Here you'll see the planets are sort of in a line here. And one of the, south of the diameter right across the middle there. And so, in terms of where we are, standing here, I was mentioning east is there, south. The line, which we call the ecliptic, actually goes a little south of overhead, and then over to the west, meaning it got its prominence because that's where the sun rises in the east, that's in the west, and also the zodiac constellations follow that line. And that is one of the things that made astrology so, full of information and the mythological aspects and everything made it so popular. But the funny thing is, the way our solar system is built, all the planets are in the same plane, they follow that line. Okay, and that's the only place that they could be found. They're not found in a northern constellation like Ursa Major with the Big Dipper. No, you only see them in here. And so, as you can see, this is Pisces. This is Libra. Aries. And then this is actually where you find Saturn. This is Neptune, which you do need a telescope for. And then here's Uranus. This is above Taurus. Uranus is between the Pleiades there and Aldebaran, which is the main star of Taurus. And I'll show you that constellation a little later. And then here, I'm sorry for getting in front, but Jupiter is in the constellations Gemini, and here's the twins. You can only see the heads, as it were, and I'll show you a slide that shows that. But you see that these are the constellations
Bear with me 1 second.
constellations. Would that be the Atlas? Interstellar.
Yes, it really is.
There you go. But even though people get mixed up and say, so you're into astrology, it's like, into astrology. Astrology has, it did, those zodiac constellations do hold a scientific place in our culture. So it's good to be able to know where to look for planets. Some of them, like Jupiter and Venus, you don't have to wonder. They're just so big. But what we're going to mention briefly is these constellations here. The one that does hold Uranus is here in Taurus. And then everybody's favorite sometimes, Orion, right there. And then we're going to mention Jupiter is in the constellation Gemini. Right. One thing I wanted to mention, let me go back here. You can see all these other constellations and stars that we've talked about in previous months. And, as the year advances and we get a whole new bunch of constellations rising in the east, I do want to mention that should we have been able to look at the telescopes, this here, and I just put this on the map myself, this is the Andromeda galaxy. That is something you can actually see in binoculars or telescopes, and in some places with the naked eye. It's the farthest thing that we can see with the naked eye. It is our close galaxy, and it's absolutely stunning. We have shown you in various other talks how to find the constellation called Andromeda, which is like an elongated V, and the actual Andromeda galaxy. And there is a way to, this is the Pegasus Great Square, and those stars are big enough to be able to see with the naked eye. You actually take the corner one, go 1, 2, go up, and you'll see another bright star. This is with binoculars. And further up, there are 2 little stars here, and then you see a smudge, and that may be all you see. But the fact that you know, it's like wisp, the fact that you know that's another galaxy makes it all worthwhile. It's really fascinating. So I wanted to show you that. Also, there is another galaxy in this area, and because I'm reminding everybody about how cool it is to see the Andromeda galaxy, I wanted to mention that other one too. Now here, this is, whoops. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Nope. No, that would have been my first idea. I'm trying to see if it moves so. No, it doesn't. All right. No. Well, as long as it's going to be there, I might not have to worry about it. Let me think about it. I wanted to show you, there you go, the Andromeda galaxy. It's just hiding the name, Wayne Zuhl, of one of our people. So this is the Andromeda galaxy. This was from 2023. This is absolutely gorgeous. It's about 2.5 miles, 2.5 million light years away from us. And we are going to collide with it, the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy. We are hurtling towards each other at breakneck speeds. and it'll be a few billion years before we actually meet, and you probably wouldn't be so much of a crash as just with all the space between these bodies. We may just, whirl around each other for a few million years and then form one new galaxy. Now, also, one of our people, and I don't think he's on, Dave Sadowski, this was one of his first attempts at astrophotography. I think it's awfully good. He liked showing good old MGC 891, which is 30 million light years away. Apparently, this was shown in the opening credits of some of us remember the 60s show Outer Limits. I thought it was kind of cool. A lot of astronomers like to take this partially because of its old-fashioned charm. But now going back, excuse me, I wanted to show you this kind of another elongated V towards the bull. And this is sort of how it works. When you see mythological drawings, sometimes they've got where the stars aren't exactly the same with everyone. This is generally considered Aldebaran, which is a beautiful, big star. Again, it's a red giant. It's towards the end of its life. There's that flesh-colored whatever. This is usually called the Eye of the Bull. And actually, there are sort of two clusters. This is called the Hyades. And then up here, a lot of you are familiar with the Pleiades up there. But I've decided that this is one of the prettiest constellations in a set of binoculars because it has different, some things are a lot of dots and it's fine, that's it. But it's that there are many different sizes, many different colors, and it just, you can really make out that bull. And here, there are two, actually it's probably here, just underneath the eye, there are two tiny little stars, almost like the nostrils. It's really just very beautiful. And then when you look up from it, and you keep looking, people are trying to help you find the Pleiades, but when you hit it, they're so bright. There's no mistaking it. Then I love to find out some of these stars, what their sizes compare to the sun. So Aldebaran, and there's a sun. And this is definitely a red giant. What I love about the picture to the left is that a lot of times you will have things explained to you with a chart, but taking a photo, exactly what you would see. There's a lot of stars you could see, but it would be a fair estimate with a good pair of binoculars, which are basically two baby telescopes put together, and they're easy to use. You use both your eyes. The image is inverted, but they're on the left. Those are the Hyades with Aldebaran in there, and then there's the Pleiades. Now they're all not near each other. It's just from our point of view how a constellation looks, the pattern, etc. It would be very interesting, and I'll show you later what it would be like to look at a famous constellation from the side. But that's good old Taurus. There you have it. Aldebaran looks like it's part of the Hyades down there, but it's actually another region of space altogether. That's how we view it, and it's very pretty. Here is something cool. Mark Zdarsky is one of our people, and I think this might have been in the Adirondacks. He was able to take a photo with his phone. He does have astrophotography equipment. But he was able to see the Pleiades there, the nostrils, and then up top is Pleiades almost looks like a baby Big Dipper actually in that photo. But it's almost good to see photos because then you could actually see them in the real sky. Wouldn't be that view of Orion in there too? Yeah. Oh yeah, right. it's really, I got a few of Orion. Okay, we love, if it weren't for the people watching sheep and doing a lot outdoors in clement weather, and so many of our star names are from the Arabic. But anyway, it's an Arabic name, Aldebaran. The stars can be seen following the Pleiades star cluster, which is also called the Seven Sisters in the night sky. Okay, let me bring up the next one. Here's a nice, this is one of our people, you can probably not really read it, but Donna Harris, she's not with us tonight, but she is one of our most recent astrophotographers. One wonderful thing about that was she was very good with photography. She was trying to switch to astrophotography, and there were a lot of people who she could have asked who are in the group, all different ages. I mean, we had 85-year-old astrophotographers still taking photos for us, and the collegiality of the mostly guys who knew so much, and bringing her up to date, together with the development of new and easier electronics all the time. They said she went, in 1 year, but it took them 5 years to do, which was wonderful because it was good for her. People were very generous with their knowledge, as you probably noticed. We love to talk about the hobby, but she does this great, really great stuff. So here's a nice sweeping Pleiades from Donna. Also, a lot of you may know, I didn't know this, but the Pleiades actually is, Subaru is Japanese for Pleiades, and that's why you've got all of those stars there, which is very cool. There aren't 7 stars, but for the 7 sisters of Atlas, but it's still very cool. So I really like knowing that. Going back, we've got on the bottom of that, you see on the left, under Uranus and Taurus, you've got wonderful Orion. In Greek literature, he first appears as a great hunter in Homer's epic, The Odyssey. And we're going to show you where those stars fit. See, this is, whoop. There he is. He's got a belt. And here's his legs. It's actually, much bigger than just this kind of an X section. Again, I'm sorry for that thing there in the middle, but this is a photo of the little sun. So, again, you feel like you can really look and find it up in the sky. Here is the what we call the sword, and that is just an amazing view in binoculars. It's very wispy. It's called the Great Orion Nebula. Looks very spacey and smoky and everything. And as I'll show you later, with telescopes and also with astrophotography, you can get a wonderful detail. Now, up on the left there, that is a dying star, Betelgeuse. And I'm going to introduce the others. The belt of Orion are those 3 stars there, and you can see with the reddish, there's a lot going on under there as well. I'll just show you a little more. Betelgeuse is on the left, and on the one of the feet is Safe, then Rigel, very bright star in the sky. And here's the Great Orion Nebula hanging down, hanging down, the sword hanging down from the belt. And then Bellatrix is up in the upper right-hand corner. And interestingly enough, in popular, media, obviously, we can't forget Betelgeuse there. But also Bellatrix, and it's hiding Well, this is Helena Bonham Carter in that picture behind here. And a lot, in terms of a lot of the names for the Harry Potter characters are from constellations and stars. And when I realized they use Arcturus, they use Sirius Black, obviously. Sirius is we're going to show that, is one of the big winter stars. There's Regulus. She didn't have any special reason. She just thought it would be cool. So I thought there was some deep-seated scientific whatever that was going on. But anyway, no one will ever forget Betelgeuse and Bellatrix in Orion. Anyway, the Great Orion Nebula that's what you could probably see with very good binoculars. You've got that spacey view, and I'm doing it in black and white because that's what you can see. But then, it really is a much more involved, really, it's a stellar nursery. That's where new stars are being born, gas and dust and rising temperatures until you actually have a star that is a nuclear fusion there. And here's Wayne. Wayne, we showed you one of his photos before. He just did this the end of November, so I wanted to show it to you. And this is a beautiful, it's sort of going this way, it's sort of on its side, but that in the middle there is part of the nebula part that everybody loves to take a photo of. Here's another one by actually our president, Mark Stravinsky. He's not here with us, but that's just amazing. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And one of the perks of being members is that you could be trained to do astrophotography. A lot of it isn't just a matter of taking a whole bunch of exposures, because every exposure will let a little more light in, stacking them, and then you have software to help you do that, and then you fine tune the detail. And it's really amazing. I have not done it yet, but there's all these folks here who would be happy to help you. Now, speaking of, you see, if you put Orion, which everybody is pretty familiar with the view, if you put it on its side, you will see that the pattern we see is just because that's what we are looking at, from the front. And actually, one of the stars on the belt is the farthest. And actually, I think one of the closest stars is Betelgeuse, that A there. So that's something else that I love to do. I love to go through the web and try to see well-known constellations where you already know the pattern. And speaking of Orion's belt, that does sort of have a sort of, what would you call it in popular fiction? Orion's belt figures in the Men in Black, the first movie. They spend the whole time looking for a galaxy that's on Orion's belt. And at one point, Will Smith is looking at a diagram of Orion and saying, "There's no galaxy. It's just 3 stars." Oh, cool. They're talking about astronomy. As it turns out, Orion was a cat, and he had a little charm that contained a galaxy. Like size doesn't matter. They were looking for something large, et cetera, et cetera. But what there is on the belt, here's 3 stars, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. Here you can see, right? You can get to see some very interesting and familiar shapes. And this is right under Alnitak. And this is another great photo by Donna of what we call the Horsehead Nebula. And to the left is the Flame Nebula. And there's a whole lot when you end up centering on a lot of these areas. You can find more, but this is what shows, for the most part, what's available there, and it's a very popular target for astrophotographers. Oh, sorry. Now the whole thing is, just to let you know, the whole area is very bright. I mean, this area that we're going to be looking at. And I remember going out for the first time, really seeing Orion for the first time, realizing how confusing it can be, but it's great. It's nice and wintry, and you're freezing your fingertips off, but there's so much beauty. You see here where we've been looking. These are very bright stars. We'll talk next month about two constellations that are kind of tied in with Orion the Hunter. These are his hunting dogs. This is Sirius. Remember, I was talking about Sirius Black from the Harry Potter series, and that's the bright star. This is called the Big Dog and the Little Dog, Canis Minor and Canis Major. These are very bright, and it's helpful to know when you go out there, especially when you're looking for Jupiter up there, which are the stars and which are the planets. But as I said, Jupiter is so bright that there's no mistaking it for anything else. But these the two stars of the Gemini twins are also very bright. Okay, and here you've got your other bright star, which is Aldebaran, and down here Rigel. So actually, the triangle involves these two and the Orion, who the dogs are connected with mythologically speaking. So that's your a way to look at the sky and figure out where you are. There are three stars that form the summer triangle that do the same job in the summer, but this is what you would look for. And as I said, there's no mistaking the entire constellation Orion, but keep your eye on that. And there you go. You've got Betelgeuse here for Orion, and then Procyon, which is the small dog, and Sirius, which is the big dog, and it's also called the dog star. And another little bit of cultural trivia is that I think Keanu Reeves still has his rock group, which is called Oaks, which is kind of cool. Okay, so this is again a photo of these, so that's a good way to know your way around. And it's also good to know about the winter hexagon. Again, it brings up a little more. You've got Procyon here and Sirius, and then you've got Rigel, which is one of the feet of the Orion constellation, and then Aldebaran from Taurus. And over here, because this is where you're going to find Jupiter, you've got Gemini with Castor and Pollux. And then because it's such a bright star, Capella up here, but it's not well known, and people, Uri, the constellation isn't well known, but it's very helpful to know what Capella is, because people might be looking for a bright planet on Jupiter and think that that's it. But as long as you know that there is this actual hexagon that involves no planets, but very bright stars, you're on your way. And Capella does have its own, thing in terms of being the constellation, the Charioteer. He's actually carrying his goats. This is an old English constellation card, but it's the sixth brightest star in the sky. So it's really good to know that. I remember I was with a bunch of people and nobody knew it was Capella except me, and this was when I was learning, and I was so proud of myself. A lot of these, we don't go into it tonight, but a lot of these are not single stars. We're with our sun as a single star, throughout the years, it's very rare to have single stars, but the sun is one. Then they were finding single stars all over the place. Then it's like, no, most are 4, 5, 2, 3 stars, 3-star systems. Now Capella's actually got 6. Wait a minute. Two binary stars. It's like Capella A and Capella B, and then it's got these 2 little guys, and the distances between these things are astronomical, millions of miles. And they're all just seen as one star, but that's a whole nother talk about multiple star systems. And I'm sorry because this is getting in the way of some of the text here. But just to let you know about Capella, and again, I want to show you Castor and Pollux. This is a slide you saw before. That's where Jupiter is coming up, and that moon there on the 6th and the 7th over the weekend. If we can see the sky, will direct you to Jupiter. Now, just to let you know about Gemini. See, I mentioned that the only stars that are very bright are like the head of each of them. They're going this way, and there you go. It's above Orion, and it appears a little later. This is a picture of, they're twins, except they have 2 different fathers. So go back to the myths, and this is the G version. One was the mortal son of the king of Sparta, and Pollux was the divine son of Zeus. The thing about this is, again, this is covering the golden star. Castor is bluish, meaning it's a younger star, and then Pollux has that gold view. So really, in binoculars, if you get a really good view, that's 2 different colors, right in your field of view, which is beautiful. So there you have it. Last thing is meteor showers, and we actually do have a good meteor shower. The Geminids coming up, and we just showed you Gemini, and they're usually named after the constellation it appears that the meteors are coming from. Okay, so remember, they're usually coming from within the solar system, so they're not as far out as stars. Of course, stars are millions and millions and millions of miles away. But that's the direction of the sky that you look at. And I always have fun with finding pictures of people looking up. I try to keep up with the news. They're not looking up. They're very happy. Okay. Little laugh. Okay. It's both sides of the aisle. Nobody can take offense, right? Because they've got both Democrats and Republicans and the Monty Python group. That's my favorite. There too. Yes. Okay. Up in the sky. The Gemini meteor shower. Most meteor showers do last about a month. People talk about peak times, and people feel that if they're not looking at the peak times, they've missed it, but they haven't. It's just that, it seems to be the best time to look. But the peak date is about September 14th. We have a late rising waning crescent moon, not really going to get involved. We love the moon, but we don't like them around when we're trying to see a planet or a constellation near it, or meteor showers, because it does wash out. Okay, so there you have it. The radiant seems to be coming, and it's considered a strong shower. So this is actually, it's an asteroid presentation. This is not a comet. It's an asteroid. Whoops. Hello. There we go. And it's Phaethon. That's its name. And basically, what a comet or an asteroid does is come in, fly around, get close to the sun. They're dirty snowballs, or in the case of, that's usually comets. there does seem, I'm not sure why Phaethon, because it's mostly asteroid, why it is giving off what we usually associate with ice melting. That reflectivity that Saturn's rings have. But anyway, it does the trick, and it's considered a good meteor shower. So when they leave the sun, they're usually warmer and leaving a trail. And I don't really have when this first came, but it just left a trail. So when we passed that point, every December, we could, know like clockwork, we're gonna, go through that stream. The old stream left years ago, depending on which body it is, a comet or an asteroid. And actually, this was a nice photo. Again, it's getting hidden, but that was a wonderful photo of it. The full name is 3200 Phaethon. And actually, if you remember, the Arecibo Observatory is the one that was damaged down in South America. And
Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico.
not quite South America, excuse me. Yeah, so the late Arecibo Observatory. That's why it's good to have people who know more than I do in this talk, because I end up talking a little about everything, and I just simply cannot know what some of my friends here know. Thank you very much. So this is, I'm thanking some of the people who did the astrophotography. Here's some of the people and websites that I use. And I took a little longer, but I knew it was not a great sky to look at. But I did want to cover as much as I could. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming. And are there any questions? Preferably easy ones. Oh. Matthew, right?
Is there a reason for the hexagonal storm on Saturn?
Is there a reason for
The hexagonal storm.
What is the question?
The hexagon on top of Saturn, besides it being some sort of storm, and they do say it rises. It's quite, it rises quite a bit. I went into that more in one of my other talks. I should bring it back. And there actually was a gift of its swirl. But that would be something that, I'd have to look up again. But
They have some theories, but nobody's really sure why either.
And it's like the red spot on Jupiter, it's shrinking, and as long as we've been watching it, we don't even know, let's say with the Jupiter red spot, we don't really know how long it's been there because we discovered it fairly recently. But that is amazing, I would love to do a whole thing on that. And just the way it looks like it's painted. It really was. And nobody pays attention to the globe of Saturn because you're just looking at the rings. Yeah. Gee. I should ask. Yes.
If you want to observe a meteor shower, and I guess this is not recommended for December, the best way to do it is to put your feet toward where it originates, and lie down on the ground, prop up your head a little bit, and just look up in the sky, not at it, but this way. And then you see all the meteors, and you see them all over the sky, but if you trace them back, they trace back to the origin.
To that. Well, if you have enough, if you have enough thermal underwear
And tarp and a sleeping bag and
the whole bit. And it's insane because I remember starting with my very basic telescope and it wasn't a Bluetooth, and I would have to actually look at a what do they call it, a locator, what am I trying to say? Yeah, the finder scope before going into the telescope, I was trying to find Jupiter. And I was going like this so long, and it was middle of winter. And I thought, this is painful. And I remember having a little, when I was at the dentist's office, I said, I'm sort of feeling a little sore. And he goes, what have you been doing? And I said, I've been going like this so long. I figured he would write a paper.
I was doing astrophotography up at Jenny Jump in the wintertime. And I had a soda on the ground as I was doing astrophotography. And back in those days, you really had to guide. Things weren't automatic. Yeah. And I let it sit there for a while. And then after I finished the photo, I went down, picked up the soda can, and it was ice.
It was like, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, and it's true. I mean, winter is gorgeous. I mean, summer, depending on whether there is the
Perseus.
a cool planet to look at, I considered it boring until I found out there's plenty of beautiful stuff in summer as well.
Yeah, the Perseus in August. The Perseus meteor shower in August.
That's true. You know what? I'm just going to. Hello, folks. Can you hear me? I'm gonna say, does anybody out there have any thing to say? Oh, Dave, you're on. Did you see that I showed your photo?
So Kathy, I wanted to say something.
No.
So this meteor shower that's coming up in December, the Geminids, we could also see with radio. So my ham radio club is trying to count the meteors.
Wow.
Yeah, from radio pings. You hear a ping when a meteor ionizes part of the ionosphere.
That'd be great. This is Mary Lou. Dr. West is head of our, I don't know if there's any people here who don't know. She's head of our research committee, and also a previous math and physics teacher, and also a ham radio operator par excellence.
So that's the newest thing I learned about these things.
Oh, wow. And the kind of being able to keep a record, a different kind of record. Wow.
Yeah, and the radio can work during the day, even when, visually we don't see any of the meteors, but they're coming down during the day as well.
Right. That's an moment. Thank you. That's excellent.
Right. Thank you, everybody.